The weight of success. It's a phrase we hear often, but rarely do we stop to consider what it truly means. In our society, success is often measured by external achievements, the size of our bank accounts, the prestige of our job titles, the square footage of our homes. But what happens when these markers of success become burdens rather than blessings? What happens when the very things we've worked so hard to attain begin to weigh us down? This is the story of Ethan Carter, a man who seemingly had it all. At 42, Ethan was the CEO of a thriving tech company that he had built from the ground up. His corner office overlooked the city skyline, a daily reminder of how far he had come from his humble beginnings. Each morning he would drive to work in his sleek sports car, the envy of his colleagues and competitors alike. His home was a modern architectural marvel featured in design magazines, complete with a swimming pool, home theater, and a wine cellar stocked with rare vintages. Ethan's son, Michael, attended an elite private school where he was being groomed for success, just like his father. The Carter family name opened doors, commanded respect, and signified achievement in every sense of the word. By all conventional measures, Ethan Carter was living the dream. His bank account overflowed with wealth, his calendar was filled with important meetings, and his phone constantly buzzed with notifications from people seeking his time and attention. Yet, despite all these outward signs of success, an unshakable emptiness lingered within him. The nights felt increasingly cold and lonely, even in his temperature-controlled mansion. The days, despite being packed with activities and accomplishments, felt strangely meaningless. No achievement, no matter how significant, seemed to fill the void that had been growing in his heart. Ethan found himself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering why the happiness he had expected to accompany his success remained elusive. He had followed the formula perfectly: work hard, climb the ladder, accumulate wealth. So why did he feel so hollow? One evening, unable to bear the weight of his thoughts any longer, Ethan decided to seek guidance. He had heard about a renowned monk named Master Elias who lived in a peaceful monastery on the outskirts of town. Master Elias was known for his wisdom and ability to help those who were lost in their own minds find their way back to clarity and purpose. The monastery was a stark contrast to the environments Ethan typically frequented. There were no marble floors or crystal chandeliers, just simple stone walls and wooden furniture. The air smelled of incense and herbs rather than expensive cologne and leather. It was quiet, a kind of quiet that Ethan hadn't experienced in years, maybe decades. Sitting before the old monk, Ethan let out a deep sigh that seemed to carry the weight of his entire being. "Master," he began, his voice uncharacteristically vulnerable, "I have worked tirelessly all my life. I built my career from the ground up, earned wealth beyond what I ever imagined, and secured the best future for my son. Yet, I am not happy. In fact, I feel more exhausted and lost than I did when I had nothing." Ethan's hands trembled slightly as he continued. "Success was supposed to bring me peace, but the more I achieve, the more restless I become. The more I acquire, the less satisfied I feel. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. Please help me understand why I feel this way." Master Elias listened patiently, his serene eyes observing Ethan's weary face. The lines of stress and fatigue were etched deeply into the successful businessman's features, telling a story that contradicted his outward success. Without saying a word, the monk stood up and walked into another room, leaving Ethan momentarily confused. Moments later, Master Elias returned, carrying 3 objects in his hands: a glass ball that sparkled in the soft light of the monastery, a beautifully painted porcelain ball with intricate designs, and a simple rubber ball. He handed all 3 to Ethan and said, "Throw these into the air, one after another, and make sure at least one stays in the air at all times." Ethan looked at the monk in confusion. "What does this have to do with my happiness?" he asked, puzzled by the seemingly irrelevant request. But trusting the monk's wisdom, he decided to obey. At first, the task was simple. Ethan tossed the balls effortlessly, keeping them in motion with the same precision he applied to managing his business affairs. But as he continued, the pace quickened, and the challenge became harder. His hands moved frantically, trying to keep all 3 balls from falling. The glass ball glinted dangerously as it asked through the air. The porcelain ball's delicate surface seemed increasingly fragile with each toss, and the rubber ball bounced erratically, becoming harder to predict. Soon, he realized he couldn't manage them all simultaneously. The balls were moving too quickly, and his coordination was failing him. In a split-second decision, Ethan caught the glass and porcelain balls and let the rubber ball drop to the ground. It bounced a few times before rolling to a stop at Master Elias's feet. Panting slightly from the exertion, Ethan turned to the monk and explained his choice. "I didn't let the glass ball fall because it's delicate. It would have shattered upon impact and been destroyed forever. The porcelain ball, though stronger, could still break or chip, damaging its beauty. But the rubber ball, it's tough. It can bounce back no matter how hard it falls, so I let it go." A gentle smile spread across Master Elias's face, his eyes twinkling with understanding. "Exactly, my child. You have just uncovered the answer to your own problem." Ethan frowned, still not making the connection. "I don't understand. What does juggling balls have to do with my unhappiness?" The monk placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder and guided him to sit down again. "These 3 balls represent the priorities in your life, Ethan. The porcelain ball symbolizes your family, your emotions, and your inner peace, things that, once broken, may never fully heal. The cracks will always remain, visible reminders of the damage done." Master Elias picked up the glass ball and held it to the light. "This glass ball represents your career and achievements, important, yes, but still fragile and requiring care. If neglected or mishandled, they can shatter, but with attention and balance, they can remain intact and beautiful." Finally, he bent down to retrieve the rubber ball. "And this rubber ball represents material possessions, luxuries and status, things that can be lost and regained. They may dent or scratch, but they bounce back. They are resilient in ways that the other aspects of your life are not." Master Elias looked deeply into Ethan's eyes and continued, "You have spent years gripping the rubber ball with all your might, chasing wealth, recognition, and external success while neglecting the porcelain and glass balls. You are exhausted because you have focused on what bounces back instead of protecting what is truly irreplaceable." The monk's words struck Ethan like a physical blow. He had never thought of his life in these terms before, but the analogy made perfect sense. He had missed countless family dinners to close business deals. He had been physically present but mentally absent at his son's school events, his mind always on the next meeting or opportunity. He had ignored his own health, both physical and mental, pushing himself to the brink of exhaustion in pursuit of more, always more. "If your career stumbles, you can rebuild it," Master Elias continued. "If you lose material wealth, you can earn it again. But if you lose the love of your family or your inner peace, you may never restore them completely. Some breaks cannot be mended, Ethan. Some losses are permanent." The monk's voice was gentle but firm as he delivered this truth. Life is about balance. When the weight of success becomes too much, let go of the rubber ball and hold on to what truly matters. Your happiness does not reside in your bank account or your job title. It lives in the moments of connection, in the peace of a quiet mind, in the love you give and receive. A lump formed in Ethan's throat. For the first time in years, perhaps for the first time ever, he saw clearly. His relentless pursuit of wealth and status had distanced him from the very things that gave life meaning. He had missed his son's first steps because he was closing an important deal. He had been absent from his wife's birthday celebration because a client needed him. He had ignored his own health warnings, dismissing them as inconveniences on his path to greater success. Tears welled up in his eyes as he bowed before the monk. "Thank you, Master. I understand now. I've been chasing the wrong things, holding on to what doesn't matter while letting go of what does." Master Elias nodded, his expression compassionate. "It is never too late to change your grip, Ethan, to loosen your hold on the rubber ball and strengthen your grasp on the porcelain and glass. The journey back to balance begins with a single step, a single choice." As Ethan left the monastery that evening, the weight on his shoulders felt different. It was still there, but it had shifted, transformed. The burden of success had been replaced by the weight of realization, of understanding what truly mattered. And somehow, this new weight felt lighter, more manageable. The next morning, instead of rushing to the office before dawn, Ethan sat down for breakfast with his son. Michael was surprised at first, then delighted as his father asked about school, his friends, his dreams. For the first time in years, Ethan truly listened, not just waiting for his turn to speak or mentally reviewing his to-do list. Later that day, Ethan called a meeting with his executive team. "I'm making some changes," he announced. "I'll be leaving the office by 5 p.m. most days. I'm taking weekends off, and I expect all of you to do the same." There were murmurs of surprise around the table. This was not the Ethan Carter they knew, the man who sent emails at midnight and expected immediate responses. "Success isn't just about profit margins and market share," Ethan continued. "It's about creating a company where people can thrive, not just survive. where we value not just what our employees produce, but who they are as people. Starting today, we're redefining what success means at this company. In the weeks that followed, Ethan made more changes. He scheduled regular family dinners. He started attending his son's soccer games, not just physically present but emotionally engaged, cheering from the sidelines with genuine enthusiasm. He began practicing meditation, following Master Elias's guidance to quiet his restless mind and find peace within himself. The transformation wasn't immediate or perfect. There were days when old habits crept back in, when the allure of the rubber ball, the next big deal, the newer car, the larger house tempted him to loosen his grip on what truly mattered. But each time, he remembered the monk's wisdom and readjusted his hold. Gradually, the emptiness that had plagued him began to fill with something new: contentment. Not the fleeting satisfaction of closing a deal or buying a luxury item, but a deeper, more sustainable sense of fulfillment that came from meaningful connections and inner peace. 1 year after his visit to the monastery, Ethan returned to see Master Elias. The monk noticed the changes immediately: the relaxed posture, the genuine smile, the clear eyes that no longer carried the shadow of discontent. "You look well, Ethan," Master Elias observed. Ethan nodded. "I feel well. For the first time in as long as I can remember, I feel whole. My company is still successful, perhaps even more so now that I've implemented policies that respect work-life balance. But more importantly, my relationship with my son has never been stronger. I'm present now, truly present, and it has made all the difference." Master Elias smiled. "And the balls? How are you managing them?" Ethan laughed. "I'm still juggling, but with a different priority now. The porcelain ball, my family and inner peace, gets most of my attention. The glass ball, my career, receives careful handling but no longer dominates my life. And the rubber ball, I've learned to let it bounce sometimes, knowing it will always come back when needed." The monk nodded approvingly. "You have learned the most important lesson of all, Ethan. Success is not measured by what you gain in the world, but by what you cultivate within yourself and share with others. True wealth is not counted in dollars, but in moments of joy, in connections that sustain us, in the peace that comes from living in alignment with our deepest values." As Ethan left the monastery for the second time, he carried with him not just the wisdom of Master Elias, but a profound understanding of his own. The weight of success no longer crushed him, because he had redefined what success meant. It wasn't about accumulation or achievement. It was about balance, presence, and purpose. In the pursuit of success, we often become consumed by external achievements, believing that wealth and status will bring us happiness. But true fulfillment doesn't come from accumulating possessions, it comes from nurturing what truly matters: our relationships, our peace of mind, and the love we share with those who matter most. If we hold on to negativity, stress, and the endless chase for more, life will always feel empty. But if we prioritize love, balance, and gratitude, we will find a happiness that no amount of money can buy. Let go of what doesn't serve your soul. Protect what is fragile. And remember, real success is not measured by wealth, but by the depth of joy in your heart. The story of Ethan Carter reminds us that we all have choices about what we hold on to and what we let go. In the juggling act of life, we must decide which balls deserve our most careful attention and which can occasionally be allowed to drop. The rubber balls will always bounce back: the careers, the material possessions, the status symbols. But the glass and porcelain balls, our relationships, our health, our peace of mind, these require our gentlest handling and most vigilant care. As you go about your day-to-day, ask yourself, which balls am I holding? Which am I letting drop? And most importantly, am I protecting what truly matters? The answer to these questions may just be the key to finding the happiness that has eluded you, the contentment that no amount of external success can provide. Remember Ethan's journey from emptiness to fulfillment. Remember that true success is not about having it all, but about appreciating what you have. And remember that sometimes the weight of success is not in the achieving, but in the balancing, holding on to what matters while having the courage to let go of what doesn't. In the end, the most valuable things in life aren't things at all. They're the connections we forge, the peace we cultivate, and the love we both give and receive. These are the true measures of a successful life, not the size of your house or the digits in your bank account, but the fullness of your heart and the contentment of your soul. So as you continue on your own journey, may you find the wisdom to juggle life's many balls with grace and intention, always remembering which ones are made of rubber, which of glass, and which of precious, irreplaceable porcelain. And may you discover, as Ethan did, that true happiness comes not from the weight of success, but from the lightness of living a life aligned with what matters most.